just when it feels like the world is ending, Alabama goes off and gets a couple of good commitments.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll tell you about FanDuel in a bit. Thank you, everydayers, for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thank you all for making this your first listen every day. Whew. Jimmy, it seems like Alabama's had a bad run. They basketball team dropped 2 in a row, one to an arch rival. Then they give up 110 points to Missouri. Only one commitment in the football class, off the heels of a 9-4 season. The women losing basketball to Tennessee yesterday. Just all this stuff, right? The women's softball team not off to the best start. But lo and behold, what warms the heart, the cockles of the heart, I might add, more than commitments, football commitments. Well, Alabama got one yesterday, and they're poised to get one today, both at positions of need, both at positions that people are always concerned about. And so I think things are off to a good start. And by the way, one of them, the one today, is attributing his commitment a lot to the relationship with Freddie Roach, who's taken a lot of heat lately.
Yeah, Freddie's always taking, and the weird thing to me is exactly what you point out, that a lot of other people are pointing out about the relationship with Freddie Roach. A lot of players have said that over the years. It's just forgotten, and whatever's the latest wave of criticism he gets, which is, in my opinion, is hugely unfounded. And a couple of people I know that are aligned with me that agree with me about Coach Roach are Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer. So I think I'm in pretty good company there. But regardless, let's talk about these two guys. Chris Booker committed yesterday as we record this Friday morning. Chris Booker, he's an offensive lineman from Hateville Charter in Atlanta. Not highly ranked yet, but I would point out to anyone, and Andrew Bone made this point on BOL, I believe, first, but I would have also made it had Bone not said it. 1 year ago today, Luke, as we look back 365 days, here's an offensive lineman that wasn't rated very highly at all, that committed to Alabama, some people complained, Jackson Lloyd, who would end the process a 5-star and considered one of the top 2 or 3 offensive tackles in the country in his class. It's just too early for rankings for their, again, at this point, rankings are a guide. They are not a rule. And complaining about the rankings at this point is like complaining about the outcome of a game that is in the first quarter, because you're literally in the first quarter of recruiting rankings as it relates to the 2026 group. Chris Booker is going to be a major riser. Now, will he rise like Jackson Lloyd? I doubt it, but I think it's going to be in the ballpark. I think Chris Booker is going to be a national top, I'll say right now, just to be conservative, national top 150. So I think he's going to end up higher ranked than Mal Waldrop. He'll end up higher ranked than Micah Debose. I doubt he makes it all the way to Jackson Lloyd, Mike Carroll territory, but he's going to be somewhere in the middle, which is pretty vast. But today, if we're just predicting and we're like, okay, where does he end up? I'm going to predict right at 150, and I'm being conservative. I want to go a little higher. This is why he's such a good prospect, Luke. He's a great athlete. I mean, he is a premium athlete for the offensive line position. He is a weight gainer late in his high school career. When he was coming to Alabama games in the fall as a visitor, Luke, he weighed in the 260 range. He had to get bigger before Alabama gave him the full, hey, we'll take you because we need to watch you get a little bigger first. He's already bigger. He's already up to 285, and we project that he's probably going to play in college at 300 pounds. He is an outstanding athlete, and coming up with a comp is really difficult for him because he's so uniquely gifted athletically. I think on our current roster, the one that he reminds me of a little bit is Will Sanders, who's doing well, by the way, who they think is going to be pretty good. But he's better. I mean, and I use this, he'll be a higher ranked prospect than Will Sanders was. He's just a very similar prospect to him. But I love Chris Booker because he's super athletic. And this comp is crazy. But you know who else he reminds me of? Also lightly recruited at this juncture, who wasn't rated very highly. Old Big Sam, Chris Samuels. I mean, I think Chris Booker has even some Big Sam in him in terms of the athleticism is just crazy with him. So very excited about adding Chris Booker. And again, his rankings will rise throughout the year as that class is evaluated by the experts.
You know, one thing that came to mind, judging recruiting right now is kind of like looking at the Farmer's Almanac for what the weather's going to be 6 months from now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, yes, it can be helpful. And yes, it can be somewhat on par with what it ultimately is. But I mean, if you're looking at the Farmer's Almanac in, February 21st, 2025, for what the weather is going to be September 21st, 2025, it could be in the area code, but it's probably not going to be exact.
Exactly. Don't pack the suitcase just yet. I would wait that out.
Now, the other kid who should be committing today is Jamarion Matthews. What's interesting about him, so he's leaving the state of Alabama, which I hate because I'm an HSA guy. By the way, next week, the HSA finals will be on for basketball. If anybody is coming to the games at BJCC, I'll be calling games Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Looking forward to it. Can't wait. Look for me down there. Feel free to reach out. But I encourage everybody to go to the BJCC too. It's a fantastic event. But so Jamarion Matthews leaving the state of Alabama, going to Gainesville, Georgia. And okay, good. Gainesville's a great program. So, I mean, I think that's good. But what's interesting is yesterday, this was announced that he's doing that. And I go to bed really early last night because I had to get up like 3:30 this morning to drive back to Elk City from Meridian, Mississippi. And
like me, you're old.
And I'm old. And I stopped and got a fiber bar and moved on. But so I was thinking, oh, crap. This is going to be one of those things where this guy's going to blow up. And Kirby already knows it, and Kirby's getting him moved over to Gainesville. I'm not insinuating anything nefarious going on, but, whatever. It's recruiting. And now I wake up this morning, I check BOL, and it's like Jamarion Matthews will commit today, and it looks like it's going to be Alabama. And so that's pretty big because I think he is also going to blow up in the rankings.
Yeah.
Now, he's a 4-star by most every ranking except 24/7 right now. He's like top 115 by most accounts on most of them. But I think he's like destined for top 50-ish status.
I agree also that he's moving up. He is a guy that's already and again, it's a good indication. It's a guide. Already some of the networks had already done a lot of work on Jamarion Matthews. Tim Watts at BOL predicting that Matthews will commit to Alabama. Tim's got an excellent batting average when it comes to stuff like that. So you can you have every reason to be optimistic about this. But he'll be committing publicly on Friday. So when I first heard of the move to Gainesville, Georgia, I assumed it's NIL related. But again, I could be way off with that. Much similar to Caleb Holt, who's from the same area, who also left the Huntsville area to go to Georgia to collect NIL money in high school, which is completely legal in Georgia. It is not legal in Alabama. So Jamarion Matthews is not going to be the first player to relocate to Georgia for NIL reasons, if that's why. Now, for all I know, his daddy or his mama got a job over there and they have to move as a family. I don't know. I'm just saying my first reaction was this is about NIL. But hey, the most important thing to talk about is a college destination for him. Apparently, per Tim, it's going to be Alabama. He is a really interesting, first of all, pass rusher. Second, I've noticed some of the sites have him listed at 6'2" or 6'3", 220. That is incorrect. It's driver's license way off. He is actually 240 pounds. And that was, he measured in, Luke, in an official weigh-in situation, I think with an Under Armour event. He weighed in last spring. So we're talking about 9 months ago at 241. So this kid weighed 240 prior to his junior year of high school. So, and then I just watched his junior highlight tape again. I saw it about 2 months ago, but I watched it again this morning before the show. What a fantastic athlete for his size. He moves like a linebacker, though he is built like a defensive end, and he will be a defensive end at Alabama. This is a kid ticketed for the Bandit spot, and basically the Bandits at Alabama weigh 270, 280. That's where he's headed, 270, maybe 280. If he retains this level of athleticism as he adds the weight, wow. Yep, this kid's really, really good. This is a big-time pickup. And in terms of projecting where he will rank, I'm with you, Luke. I think Jamarion Matthews is easily top 100, which makes him a blue-chip prospect.
I love when you said he has the abilities of a linebacker. It made me think he moves like linebacker. No, he moves linebacker. You know, like the moves like Jagger. Didn't Maroon 5 sing that? I don't know why that came to mind.
Maroon 5 does sing.
It's really stupid. By the way, it feels like you're on a hoverboard, the way you're sort of going back.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, my daughter's got a hoverboard. By the way, I think I said this the other day. Maybe I didn't. We got to go to break, but you did see the Mac McClung dunk where the guy was on a hoverboard spinning around and another guy was holding the ball on a rim and he dunked both of them, right?
Yeah, I thought he traveled.
Oh God, y'all! I did not set him up for that, but that was pretty good. All right, let's talk a little FanDuel, because FanDuel is the place to be on the internets. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you missed the opening tip-off or want to bet a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get 150 smacks in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Jimmy Tell 'em.
The NBA.
He's right. Okay, a couple of new quarterback offers are out there, and these are cool. I'm going to start with the lesser of the two because I have a joke I want to throw in there. There is a quarterback from New Jersey. His name is Derek Zammit. And I really want him more than anybody, if only because when he throws a touchdown, I want to say, that's Derek Zammit. That's not.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's not bad. Zammit.
I'll be honest.
Have you ever heard a last name Zammit?
I don't know. This is a new last name. I've never heard that last name. I'm just saying my expectations for you as far as jokes are really high, which is a compliment.
Yeah, that's true. That was
so I knew a joke was coming, so I was building it up and building it up. I'm like,
I'm coming, Zammit.
Zammit.
No, sorry.
You know, one thing. My first thing about Zammit is I saw a post on.
Can we call him DZ or something?
We talk about Zammit. Yeah, his name, it kind of sounds like a comic strip character.
It does. Like a bad superhero. Like, like the guy, it's too small of a job for Superman or Batman. Let's send Captain Zammit in there and he can take care of it.
I saw a random comment that said, well, we just signed Keelan Russell, the number 2 quarterback in the country in the last class. Maybe this year we should have known a diamond in the rough like Zammit was coming. This kid is ranked the number 11 quarterback in the U.S. by On3 right now. So this is not some lightly recruited guy. On3 has done a lot of work on him, looked at him and said, you know what? This is the 11th ranked guy in the whole country. So he is actually what I would call a very highly ranked quarterback. He's just from an area that doesn't produce a lot of nationally well-known quarterbacks. He's not the biggest kid in the world, listed at 6'1", but he's one of the first, and actually was the first quarterback offered by Alabama in the Ryan Grubb era. So I'm sure Coach Grubb was a participant in this evaluation that led to this offer. It's probably a come to camp type offer. I doubt this is a kid that could commit today. I doubt it, but maybe. And again, On3 has done a lot of work here on this kid and has early slotted him at 11 in the country. So he is a very significant quarterback, kind of a point guard game manager type. And I mean that as a compliment every time I say it, in terms of what type of quarterback is he. Accurate.
You know, nobody takes it that way, though, right?
I know how people take game manager, and it drives me nuts. I say all the time, you know who's a really good game manager for real? Patrick Mahomes. And no one who describes him as that. No one, because that label is used so terrible. But Patrick Mahomes is a fantastic game manager. As a matter of fact, from early November all the way through late in the playoffs, he didn't throw a single interception. And no one manages their offense any better than that guy. But Mahomes is a playmaker, not a game manager.
Once you throw a pass behind your back, you're no longer considered a game manager. Like that's the catch. Is like I think you're right. Patrick Mahomes statistically, I think his numbers were down this year, right? He wasn't even involved in the MVP race, whatever.
Right.
But once you do something miraculous,
ad lib.
Now, the glaring exception to me, and maybe this is because he didn't pass the ball, would be Greg McElroy hopping down the sidelines in the 2009 SEC title game. But since he didn't pass it, I think it didn't count as, okay, you're still a game manager. You're just gritty. If you do it on the run, you're gritty. If you do it with a pass, you're creative and,
But even guys like, I would say, Peyton Manning, great game manager, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and these guys threw for a gazillion yards and a gazillion touchdowns. But to me, managing the game is just about running the plays as drawn on the board, not turning over the ball, generally coming to the sidelines when the coach pats you on the helmet and says, good job. Being the coach on the field, ball distributor. Those guys, they don't lose games. I mean, Stetson Bennett, maybe one of the great game managers of all time, won 2 national titles at Georgia. But anyway, I mean it as a compliment every time I say it. And Zamet's that type. But we'll see. He's probably going to have to come to camp, and it's a little early. I'm not ready to predict, and I'm sure you aren't either, Luke. I'm not ready to predict who's going to be the 26th quarterback in this class, but he's certainly among the contenders, but too early to make a projection, I think.
Then the other one is, and I believe I'm pronouncing this correct. I tried to sound it out. I bet it's Keyshawn Henderson.
It's Keyshawn or Kayshawn.
Okay, or Kayshawn. Okay, either way. But regardless, like when I look at it first, I'm thinking Keyshawn, but I think it's Keyshawn Henderson. And he's a 5-star. He's from Texas. He's already committed to a non-Power 5 school. Who does that remind you of?
Houston's Power 12 now, Power 4.
That's true. Well,
okay, they just moved into the Big 12.
It's not even, Okay, you're right. I forget that all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess SMU is too.
Correct.
But anyway, non-traditional Power 4 school, and number 1 player in Texas, yada, yada, yada. My bet is he doesn't stay committed to Houston. I would also bet he doesn't end up at Alabama, but this kid is Keelan Russell part. Yeah.
I love it. I was going to say the same exact thing. His recruiting story is remarkably similar to Keelan Russell from a year ago, who did end up at Alabama. His recruiting story is just hugely similar. How about this also? He's the number 1 quarterback in the greater Houston area. That sounds like Jalen Hurts. Sounds like Jalen Milroe. Keyshawn, he's from that same area. Similar player to Hurts and Milroe, but much more highly ranked, much more highly rated. He is a strong contender to be considered the #1 quarterback in the class nationally. Already committed to Houston. That sounds like the Keelan Russell story, who 1 year ago was committed to SMU before flipping to Alabama. I'm with Luke. I bet he doesn't stick with Houston, though he says he is. He says he's very loyal to Willie Fritz and the Houston program right now. But boy, Texas and Ohio State and the Alabamas haven't come calling with their massive NIL deals. He will be a big NIL situation by the time that rolls around, Luke. This is one to watch just simply because the story is so similar to Keelan Russell, and he's from Jalen Milroe's hometown, Jalen Hurts' hometown. I would watch Alabama here, but I will make a prediction that I don't think Alabama's going to sign a 5-star quarterback in this class, because I don't think quarterbacks in this class are going to want to be on the direct heels of Keelan Russell, because they know if they go to Alabama, they got to wait for Keelan to cycle out before they play. That's going to be their thinking. So I doubt Alabama ends up with this kid, but the offer is interesting. And again, he may end up the #1 quarterback in this class nationally.
Yeah, I really love this kid a lot. I don't think he's going. I mean, we can all dream, but and frankly, I'd be, again, for the name only, I'm pretty good with Derek Zammit if we get it. Time to talk a little hoops. And Jimmy, we haven't been on the show since the Missouri game. Your thoughts there real quick?
Well, defensively, it was dreadful. I mean, when you give up 110, you score 98 and lose, you give up 110, everyone's going to talk about how dreadful the defense was. I agree. I'm not making excuses for them. It was dreadful, but a couple of things. Number one, Missouri was scorching hot, just scorching hot. If they just threw a ball in the direction of the basket, it went in. Some nights, some teams just have those nights. They were scorching hot. And secondly, what people have to just accept, very similar to football, is the same way, by the way, defensively. So much of it is tempo. And Alabama is a high-scoring, high-tempo, high-paced team. You're going to give up points. I don't care how good defensively or how bad defensively. It doesn't matter. If you have an offense that runs up and down the floor and scores in the high 90s or mid 90s, you're going to give up a lot of points. So those that just want to always cite the opponent's score as whether you played well defensively or not, you're doing it wrong. You've got to look at points per possession and defensive efficiency. And in those things, Alabama's not good. They're not great, but they're 40th, they're 50th. They're not 300th like some of our fans want to make it out to be. They're really 40th or 50th, somewhere in that range in terms of points per possession and defensive efficiency. That's not good enough, and that's got to get better. But it's not as bad as giving up 110 seems.
You know, we said this, that losing that game is not the end of the world, even though I think some people are treating it that way. I mean, I've seen posts saying, late season collapse, yada, yada, yada. People forget we did give up 117 at Kentucky last year. Yep. I don't remember exactly when that was, but we did it. And frankly, and then the bad news keeps coming for the basketball teams. They're sort of stranded in Missouri for a while, I think, due to weather. And
they're still there this morning?
Were they?
Are they? I was asking you.
I think so. I think they're back.
Okay, I would hope so.
I
wasn't sure. Last I knew they were there, but I do not know as of Friday morning. I haven't asked.
Well, let's hope they're back. But, those are kind of things that, little nuance stuff like that may bring a team together. Who knows? Like, where you have to be in the airport together and like you start talking about it and you're spitballing stuff like, hey, maybe we got a blank and that'll make blank happen, whatever. I'm going to the game tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Huge game. I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time on the road the last couple of days. The national narrative is what's wrong with Alabama. I get it. I think it's also very fair to say that the what's wrong with Alabama is coupled with the fact of everybody's like, Auburn's awesome. They are awesome this year. There's no doubt about it. And so, but because if it's like Duke, North Carolina, if Duke is kicking butt and North Carolina is kicking butt, but just not as much butt, then people are going to be like, what the heck's North Carolina? What's wrong with them? Alabama can still win a national championship. They can still turn this around. And I believe it's some ebbs and flows, especially with this particular team. And what we want to be on is a flow with when the tournament comes around. So yes, I want to win this weekend. I'm not going to panic if we lose this weekend. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be more concerned, but I'm not going to panic. I think we're going to be okay. But here's the other thing. We're going to lose some more games, man. We got Kentucky at home. We got Mississippi State at home. We got at Tennessee. We got Florida at home. We got at Auburn. Wouldn't shock me if we lost, I don't know, 3 of those.
I'd say half. I think if somebody said, what's wrong with Alabama? I would say, well, I don't know, the schedule maker. I mean, Alabama lost to the number 1 team in the whole country and then lost to a top 15 team on the road. That's just basketball. That's just basketball. That's not, geez, boy, they went in the toilet. You lost to the number 1 team and a top 15 team on the road. That's just basketball. Now, defensively, again, they clearly have to address, get better defensively. If I'm Nate, and we all know I'm not, because Nate's the GOAT, and I'm just like more like a lamb. Yeah. Nate, if I'm Nate,
damn it.
I'm a lamb. I would start. You know what I do to shake up the whole, to send the message? I don't know who those 5 would be, but they keep a lot of defensive metrics, a lot of defensive stats, a lot of deep dive stats. I start against Kentucky, regardless of what the 5 looks like. I start the 5 best defenders as a message, not to, hey, this gives us the best chance to win. I'm just saying, as a message to the team, you play defense, you're going to play. If you're not playing good enough on that side of the ball, your minutes are going to be slashed. And I just start. Hey, it's not like Alabama's down to 9 guys with Reed out. We all know all 9 are good players. You're not putting, somebody on the floor you shouldn't be. So I just start the 5 best defenders as a message to the rest of the team that those are the guys that are going to play the minutes.
I like the idea, except it's just not us. So no. I don't know that that's, he's toyed with the lineup. I mean, he toyed with it in Missouri. I mean, yeah, we've changed it around, see what happens.
The starts have been bad. How about coincidentally, we start out losing to Auburn by 9. They start the game on a 9-0 run and we lose by 9. And then Missouri starts out the game on a 12-0 run and we lose by 12.
That is weird. Okay, I knew where you were going as soon as you said it. That's
a message too.
That's interesting. I'm going to tell you the truth. If Kentucky starts out 7-10-0 or something, I'm going to be worried. I'm going to be real worried about that game.
The start's massive. And the start, it's so silly because why would the first minute? But no, I mean, based on what's happened the last 2 games, the start of the Kentucky game is huge.
And it is interesting. Somebody brought this up yesterday about there was one national guy that was sort of over the top with it about like, man, Alabama, what if they dropped to like a 2 seed? And the host, the guest they had on said, I can see a positive to being the top 2 seed versus the worst 1 seed in terms of where you go to play. And that's a great point. Now, here's the other thing. I don't think they'll put, like Auburn 1, Bama 2 in the same region. I don't think they do that. I mean, I guess they could. I don't think they will. But I can see a positive to, all right, I'd rather be a high 2 than a low 1. I can see it. I want to be a 1 because it's cool. But there's something, there is something about the 2 having the chip on its shoulder, because we're like, well, we should be a 1.
Well, yeah. Well, you want to go into March playing your best basketball. It's not March yet. It's still February. And you don't want this team to peak. Me and Luke, we've been saying this all along. Wouldn't it be something at the end of the year if we say Auburn was the best team in basketball in January and February, but Alabama was the best team in basketball in March? That's where it's going to matter. Auburn, if March doesn't work out for them, if the tournament doesn't work out for them, I doubt they're going to say, yeah, but look how good we were in January.
No, I'm with you on that. All right. Well, we will be back very shortly. Maybe, I don't know about post-game Kentucky because I'm going to the game, so it's going to be difficult. But we will definitely be back Sunday. Maybe back tomorrow. Who knows? We got to see what happens. But until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.